the contractor called us and said, "Oh, we have a problem here." And then we went down to the site and see what's the problem. And then it was a old lady, 老太太, sitting on the Caterpillar's machine.
Hey everyone, Darren here. Welcome to our very first Denzity Insights, where we interview experts worldwide to tell you more about how the real estate industry works. Experts such as real estate agents, developers, world-class investors, advisors, and more can break all the myths and misunderstanding for your own real estate exploration. Today, to kickstart the whole series, we got Ivan Ko. So, to give you some background, Ivan and I met 3-4 years ago in a PropTech event. And the event is very cheesy, but it's about how to solve the real estate industry and the pain points. And then I met Ivan, I keep bugging him about how to solve it and his experience. And then without knowing his background, I didn't know that he has a lot of credential experience to actually give me a lot of suggestion advice to mold Denzity today. So it's something that I owe him a lot. And then obviously, Ivan, thank you for helping me across this journey so far. And in this episode, he's going to tell you more about how, his experience from before and how to think long-term in the real estate industry. And without further ado, please enjoy this episode and I hope you like it. Thank you. Hey Ivan, thanks for coming in.
Hey, Darren, how are you?
Very good, very good. Today is a very exciting time for me because as I said before, the whole journey with Denzity started with you. So it's something that I've been waiting for a long time. And then it's just interesting to have this format to talk to you more about, your experience, your whole career, and even something that I know you want to tell more to the audience about the real estate sector.
Yeah, I think that's very flattering to me that you said your journey started from me. And I think it was very good that I can have this chance to not walk through with you, but then at the same time see you grow with your density ideas and also get the fundraise and then now get started. I think this is a big time. Even though Hong Kong is facing a very tough moment, but I think we can all get over this. Especially in the real estate market, I think in any case, Hong Kong's real estate market is going to be as popular as it was, and so I think you did the right thing. And I do hope that your Denzity can be a global real estate platform instead of just Hong Kong.
That's a lot of that's a lot of stress on me now. But then for the audience who don't know who you are, would you mind telling the audience more about your background and what you do?
Oh yeah, why not? I started doing real estate since the year of 1993, and I started doing real estate agency from Beijing, and then I did that for 7 months, and then I was headhunted by a Beijing developer, and I started doing real estate development since then. But I started doing real estate right from the beginning is from Beijing, not from Hong Kong, even though I was in Hong Kong at that time. And then subsequently, I was made the GM of this real estate development company in Beijing, and I looked after the whole development. And that was a big opportunity for me. I was young at that. I think I was only 30 or 32. So that was amazing. And at that time, the real estate development in Beijing we were the first group of people doing that from outside. And so at that time, we have Sun Hong Kai, we have Feng Ren doing this, not Soho, but then the previous one of Soho. And then later on, I started to do real estate development also in Hong Kong with another listed company. So that was the path that I did almost like 5 years real estate development in Hong Kong and also Beijing. And then I moved on to set up my own real estate finance company, which is a mortgage company I set up in joint venture with IFC, the World Bank, and Deutsche Bank. and we were doing real estate mortgage. I mean, residential mortgage underwriting business in Beijing, and that was also very pioneering. We did quite for a few years, but we were preparing everything, the market, the industry, and the standards for standard securitizations of mortgages. But even today, the securitization law hasn't come out yet. So basically, we then closed down the business, and then I moved on to do real estate fund management and things like that. So I have part of my career in real estate development, and part of the later part of it being real estate finance or real estate fund management. And later on, I set up a joint venture with Macquarie Capital doing the real estate funds in management in the Macau. So now, that's where I am.
That's a long list of things. And then I think that when I met you, you tell me a lot more than what you're doing afterward too. And that's amazing. And then, so to give some audience a background, right? So I met Ivan through a PropTech event. It's like 3-4 years ago, 2016 or 17. And I was running around trying to figure it out about PropTech and how to do the business. Ivan was the only guy that I talked to afterward. He was like, had some really good question to the panelists. And I was just like, I want to learn more. And the more I know about your background, I was like, holy crap. I was just like a junior level guy, and I met you and everything. I was like, wow. I was talking to one of the pioneers out there. So it's something that like is interesting, right? Because you talk a lot your history with, how you first started, how you transitioned slowly with different parties and stuff. You thinking back, is there like a time where you think that like that's like the golden time or something that you're very excited about among everything you have done?
Oh, well, certainly. I think it was the best timing because in the year of 93, 94, it was just the beginning of foreigner being able to invest in real estate projects in China. And prior to that, companies in China, they don't have office building. They can only rent hotel properties, hotel room as their offices. Can you imagine? And I still remember that at that time when I did my first sales pre-sale, because that was just a empty piece of land, and we have the drawings of the building, of the office building, and a gas company, oil and gas company came to us, and they want to buy the whole floor. And then that was I was talking about just using these drawings to talk about how much the price, this and that. And then later on, when we received their payment, they paid all cash, 20 million. We have to count the cash one by one. So wait, can you imagine the whole?
With like 2 suitcases, like holding
it?
No,
the whole room. The whole room was filled with
wow, okay.
renminbi notes, and so that was very interesting. I still remember that I had to pretend that I didn't want to sell the property to them, and they were so keen. So that. At that time I was responsible for marketing and sales. So that was the golden moment. And then I think this later on, when we moved to 97, 98, the Asian financial crisis, then we have a bit of change in the market, because previously it was a commercial market which was very, very in demand. In Beijing and in other cities in China. And then in 98, 99, it shifted to residential. It slowly shifted to residential, because at that time, people start to have their saving, they have money, and they want to buy their own properties instead of living in a quarter assigned by their state-owned enterprises. So then the whole market changed. And then the property market in mainland China just took off. So
I see.
That was the real golden period for that, almost like 20, 30 years.
So all that, how do you lead back to Hong Kong then? Because like obviously like you have a real estate development firm in Hong Kong and one of the many projects you're doing. So how do you lead back to Hong Kong like in the end?
In fact, after I did 5 years in that Beijing real estate development company, and then I joined a listed company in Hong Kong, and they have both a portfolio in Hong Kong and also a portfolio in mainland China. So I started doing real estate development in Hong Kong, even though I haven't long stayed in mainland China for that 10 years. But then I still flew to Beijing on a weekly basis for 10 years. Can you imagine?
Wow,
I was
that's
young,
crazy.
and so
that's crazy.
Every Monday and Tuesday I flew to Beijing, and then every Friday night I came back. So it's very like I always told my friends that I'm doing the Silk Road between Hong Kong and Beijing.
Literally all the way back and forth every single week. That must be hectic. That's a I don't know, like even for me, once a month or once every 2 months, I'm tired already. I don't know how you do that every single week. That's crazy. So for us,
it's very enjoyable.
Really? Okay, that's great then.
It was very enjoyable, yeah. Because when you see the market, when you meet the people, when you know that at that time in the year of 94, 95, no one knows how to do real estate development in Beijing. We were the first one. And Sun Hong Kai people, Henderson Land people, they were there. But also everyone don't know how to do it. And including the government officials in Beijing, they don't know how to do it. So we have to think about how to do it. And then I told my colleagues, I have several Hong Kong colleagues working with me at that time, and I told them that, hey, let's face this. No one knows how to play this game, and every day we have to go up to the stage and fight with the contractor, the vendors, and the government official. And every day we are being punched, bleeding in the nose, and then come back. And the next day we have to go up and fight again because no one knows how to do it. So, but finally, a year later, you will be very, very well versed with what's going on and how to do it, how to talk to people, what will be prioritized, what should be back in the queue, and so it's very interesting, very pioneering.
Yeah.
And I feel very excited.
That's something that I want to talk to you about this whole interview, is because a lot of people don't know what a real estate developer does. And then frankly, like these are things that like in our industry was like, even before I got into real estate firm, I was like, holy crap, it's not that easy. It's a lot of things to do, and something that's why I want to do more about this kind of videos. And then even for us, right? Like I think that we can have your whole journey, like a 3 to 5 hours like video, so easily. It's something that I want to focus on is more about your firm, what do you guys do and everything, because to give the audience a better picture. So what's a typical day, for example, right? Like a typical day for you and your team at a real estate development firm?
Usually every single project, no matter big or small, every one of them, they got problems every day. You never know. Sometime in the daytime, you kind of hold your meeting with your colleagues and talk about this working procedure and the drawings, the variation orders. Variation order is something that you have to amend the drawings, amend the work, and then carry on with the construction. And then maybe in the afternoon, you have to meet with the contractor, and then later on, meet the supplier of this curtain wall and talk about the price. And then later on, you have to meet a government official or a banker to talk about the mortgage, the financing. How are you going to provide a mortgage to the retail buyer? And then at night, you might end up with a client that you have to meet them, because most of the time in doing real estate development in Beijing or in mainland China, government official, bankers, vendors, contractor, clients, they all want to meet the general manager of the development company. If they don't meet you, they won't take action. That's the big difference between doing real estate development in mainland China and in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, it's very easy. You just call the consultant in and tell them what you want and discuss with them. And then after the meeting, all the consultants, they just go to the government liaise with the government department, and then the government department don't have to see me for one single meeting. No, they just deal with the AP, the authorized person, the architect, the surveyor, and things get done. So very comfortable doing real estate development in Hong Kong. And the problems that you face, those out of expectation problems. You don't expect problems. Like one day when we were doing the demolition in our site in Beijing in the finance street, the contractor called us and said, "Oh, we have a problem here." And then we went down to the site and see what's the problem. And then it was a old lady, Lao Tai Tai, sitting on the caterpillar's machine. And she said that she doesn't want to move. And then we called the police, and no one can ask her to move. And then finally we gave her some money, and because she thought that we are disturbing her life. She is one of his neighbors, so we have to give her this what they call 名扰费. That means a fee to compensate the disturbance we have caused to her and her neighbor. So, and then she went away, and then we can carry on with our work. Wow. So very interesting. Every day you have problems pop out, and you never know what that problem will be.
You make it sound
and that's
like
the developer's work.
That's like you make my life sounds like very easy. Like my life is a lot easier. I thought it was hectic, but it sounds like you've done a lot more, and then a lot more real problem to deal with than me.
Well, real estate investment is very different. Real estate development is kind of, you have to be on top of the situation every day, and you have to expect anything you don't expect.
So this is something that's interesting, right? Because a developer, like I see it as someone who's early stage that really see like a long term what's going on, because the risk is very high compared to like my work before with real estate investing, that I can be like, hey, there's 1,000 projects out there. I don't have to be the early stage. But developer take a lot of risk, and obviously the reward compensate everything else. So back in the day, right? Like obviously Beijing or Hong Kong, that it's very easy to see now. But back in the day, obviously there aren't as developed. How do you assess and compare different projects when you're bidding and stuff like that?
Well, we have to always look at which in China, you have to first of all look at which city, because some city they have a very good market depth, but some of them they don't. Like Beijing is very good, Shanghai is very good, but when you go to Dalian or Shenyang, it's very different. And the culture, the way they do it, the local practices, they can be very different. So you have to first of all understand which city you are focusing on, and then whether the market is deep enough, and then how will the government do, and whether they are credible or not, and whether you have the relationship there. As you know, in China, doing business in China, you always have to have good relationship, what they call 关系. Yeah, and or you have a good local partner. And so those are the few things. Certainly the normal things that location, and market study, things like that. Those are normal things.
Because like from hearing from it, right? Even though obviously the audience are not all like real estate developers, but then if I'm an investor too, there's something takeaway right away in my head was like, hey, you got to understand which city you want to go for. What's going on? Who do you know in the local players to actually understand the culture and opportunities, and you're working with them, that people actually, you can rely on them to work together as a team. So even from you, the audience might not be a developer who do stuff, but then I think the audience will learn from that. And for people who is not in the sector, right? How would you explain to them how to understand and envision the community development? Because I think as a developer, you have to really envision what kind of, how people interact with the space, what kind of things would happen around the neighborhood. So it's something that I want to know how you think about that.
Oh, that's very important, because it goes along with the first decision. The first decision in real estate development is the most important decision, is to buy the land. What land, which land you want to buy, and why do you want to buy it? And if that decision was right, then everything subsequently will be easy. If the first decision was wrong, you bought the wrong piece of land, no matter how hardworking you are or what remedial measures you take, you are not going to correct the wrong decision you made in the first place. So basically, you have to look at the environment, the neighborhood, and also all kinds of these building regulations, planning regulation associated with the land. And then you have to imagine, because the time when you buy the land, it may be an old house or old property sitting on the land, where you have to imagine the future. How are you going to put a beautiful building there and will be welcomed by your neighborhood or people that you want? And so the next thing is you have to imagine what you want to do with this piece of land, and then you talk with the architect and talk with several architects, not just one, because one architect can give you some ideas, because architects are very creative and they have done a lot of different projects at the same time, and they might be able to give you some idea of what others are doing, which is the trend, and how you can save money, these kind of things. So you talk to the architect, you talk to surveyors, and maybe you talk to your competitors. Competitors also would like to tell you their story, because they are not doing the same project as you are, because every project is unique with their location. No two projects are the same, even though they might be neighbor to each other. So next to each other. So basically you can have a lot of information coming to you, and then you get the feedback and then examine this and that. And then finally you come up with a what we call the positioning of your property. What do you want to build? What's the image that you want to give? And then what design you want to have? For example, the composition of the commercial element together with the residential element, or how the traffic you want them to flow, that sort of thing. Sometimes you don't have idea, then you let the architect propose to you. As a developer, being the main core of the value chain, you have a lot of people helping you.
That's good. I think that's kind of exciting, thinking about that in my head, like how things are working, and it's a lot of things that your components combined together that is hard to explain. So this is kind of good to give us like an overview. So from all those experience, right, and the skill you have learned, for example, envisioning the future over the years in real estate market, right? You start from Beijing and Hong Kong, and I know that you've done other places as well. How do you transfer those skills to other places? And then is there any similarities within places and or differences when you go to a different area to focus on a different type of people, different group of experts and so on?
Once you got acquired the method and you have done it the full cycle, then you know how to do it in other countries or in other places. Basically, the methodology is the same, but then in different markets, you kind of prioritize different things. For example, in certain market, you prioritize relationship first, whether you can find the right partner, the right banks, or the whatever agent to help you. And then in other markets, you start with the asset first, meaning that you have to find the right piece of land first, and then start the rest of it. So in different markets, you have different priorities. And the second thing is whether you will be able to put together a capable team to help you. That is also very important. Otherwise, you would be running around resolving problems very difficultly. And so basically, I think once you have gone through the whole cycle, if there is a project in London or in New York or in Japan, Tokyo, you know the way. Sometimes we use top-down. That means the analytics goes from the top macro view, and then the micro, and then down to the site, and then the neighborhood. Sometimes we top up. So it all depends on the market.
I see. Like I think that so far I'm giving like a crash course about real estate development. That's actually pretty interesting. And I only have, because I know you're really busy, I only have a couple more questions, because something that even in my head I have to ask you in this format. For the audience, right? That, you know, I'm sure I said before, not all audience is going to be real estate developer. They would be investor. And then what kind of tips and advice you would give to the audience who wants to participate in early stage real estate projects? For example, 老发, like such as, you know, like early stage that maybe is like, you know, like half a year from, you know, a CA and stuff like that. What kind of advice do you have for them? Oh, hold a second. I think the mic is not working.
Well, my first advice is always you have to use your eye to see what the property or what the project is. Never do it on paper. Never believe in paperwork, because real estate is something that you have to visit the site yourself, do it many times, daytime, nighttime, in the morning. You find different stories about the neighborhood, about the environment. Maybe you can talk to the neighbors, see what feedback you will get. Sometimes you hear some very old stories which might be relevant to you. Sometimes some people might be able to tell you what will happen in the neighborhood in the future. So you have to be almost like treating it as your new baby, that you go to see him or her every moment when you are free, or when you are not free, you still have to look at it and check out this and that. So doing real estate development or real estate investment is different from doing securities or buying bonds, that sort of thing. For those kind of financial investment, you can do it on paper. But doing the real estate investment and also development, especially development, you have to do it on your own by yourself in person. Don't rely on paperwork. Paperwork can, you have to see the real thing, the real situation, the environment. And then the second thing is always be prepared to roll your sleeve and then do whatever it requires you to. Never be afraid of talking to the contractor or delegate everything to your subordinate to deal with the property agents. Get to the front line, get the feeling, get the touch, know the details. Sometimes you might have to use your strict wisdom. So there are a lot of things to learn, and no matter how many years in real estate development you have been, you always learn something new, something you don't know. So every day you prepare to learn something or to get to know something that you are not aware of or you don't know. So this is very interesting because consumer behavior is always changing, and you have to get a very close touch of what's going on in the consumer, in your tenants, in your target audience, and then at the same time, product design, the building design is always evolving. The use of materials, the space planning, the flow, the mood, that sort of thing. And so it's very exciting. And I would advise anyone who are always curious, keen to learn, and willing to learn, hardworking, go into real estate development. This is the most interesting industry among all others.
I can feel a lot of passion when we talk about like the work. It sounds like, you know, like, because we're in the same industry, we know how hard it is, but then it's very rare to find someone like you that still have so much passion of doing this for so many years. So that's something that is very, very good to hear from you. So something that like is interesting when you mentioned about like being at the neighborhood, at the site. Like, you know how we're interested in PropTech ourselves. So do you think technology such as like virtual viewing or drones to check out the neighborhood can help investors understand the investment better? And how far do you think the technology is from like mature so far?
Well, I think the technology that is available can help a lot in the real estate development, because we don't necessarily go to the site. We can fly the drone and look at the progress. Because I remember when I was doing this project in Beijing, we have to rent an office close by so that we can look out from the window and see the progress of the project every day.
Okay. Okay.
So that is one way. Yeah, very, very physical. And but now you don't have to do that. Or you can have some CCTV or IoT, then you know what's going on and you can check. But at the same time, I think the basic element is the same, that you have to do your own investigation, your own due diligence by site visit, by talking to the neighborhood, by talking to these old men, old ladies nearby. You learn about the old story and things like that. And so basically technology will help a lot, especially when we have this building BIM, the BIM, which track all the changes in the design, and then they will change the budget, the surveyor's calculation. So and once the architect change, the M&E, the bills of quantity can change by itself. So these kind of things can help make the whole process more efficient. And so technology, I think, do play a major part of it in the whole process. But I would say putting technology into construction and real estate development is also a challenge, because this is a very old industry, as old as human being. Because previously we lived in the cave, but now we have our own building. But then at the same time, the practices, the culture can be difficult to change. So putting technology into a construction site or a real estate project can be quite challenging, and we prepare to kind of educate them and also get them on board to agree with the use.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? We're trying to figure this out, and Denzity obviously try to figure out the whole research part, the learning what's going on out there. So I think it's something that echo really strong with what we believe in. So besides BIM, like virtual viewing and stuff like drones, what other technology in property tech or construction tech that, or other tech that you think is going to impact a lot for the whole real estate industry?
Well, maybe most of the time is the IoT or the surveillance systems, facial recognition for property management. Also, robotics being used on construction sites for dangerous or some very difficult work where a human cannot get into. So those robotic can be another one. I have always imagined that one day we can have robot to clean the curtain wall, because cleaning curtain wall is so dangerous. And if we can have a robot which can play music or dance while it is cleaning the curtain wall, then people will look at the building and see, oh, this is very interesting. So this kind of thing, I think it will change, and it will kind of get to more common use.
I see. I think that would be a really good PR actually for, to drive pre-sale, right? That would be a cool kind of like a scheme, right? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think as I said before, I know you're a busy person. I have one last question that I have to ask, for myself one day, like compared to today, right? It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to be a developer, and would you recommend people considering to be a developer, or you would rather them to try different aspect of real estate sector?
I would say joining a developer is the most crucial part of this whole value chain, because as a fund manager, even though they are at the top of this value chain, but then they are not the organizer. They are not the organizer. The only major organization, the organizer is the developer, because they have to organize a lot of different resources: the land, the people, the bank, the consumer, the contractor. government officials. So they have to deal with many things. So they organize all these together, and then they kind of divide the risks into different sections, and then kind of shifting the risk from their own to other parties. Each one take on certain risks, like the architect, like the contractor, and then the banker. They bear different risks in the whole development process. So once you've done that, the full cycle, then you can move on to comfortably to other position, like a fund manager, like property agency, whatever, because you understand the whole thing. And then you can move on to set up your own business, like a PropTech, Denzity. So that's a very good learning curve. And developers' life is very interesting. You bump into different problems or different issues every day. So it's good.
Yeah, like I think that because we both know a couple of people that aren't in the real estate industry and trying to get into PropTech, and for me it's like their learning curve is so much, because real estate is not only about tech, it's about the people, about the industry, it's about the whole machine in the world. And how can you make that one piece that make everything works? So it's something that I echo hard too, because if I weren't working in a real estate fund, there's no way I even think of density. There's no way I even consider that as an option. So it's something that it's coming from you is something that is kind of interesting. So what kind of last thing I have, what kind of takeaway do you want the audience to have from this interview?
I think if you have not joined the real estate industry, please join it. It's a very big industry. The value chain and the things that you can do is numerous. I mean, it's unlimited. And I would say real estate industry, the longer you stay in the industry, the more project you've done, the better you are. Not like IT. A 15 years old student can beat a old guy, and experience doesn't count too much. But in real estate, the longer you are, the more experience you are, it's better. So especially when people now might live to the age of 120. So the older you are, the better. But at the same time, I think be prepared to learn things because real estate industry is also changing, and so I think real estate industry, get into it. If you can become an employee of a developer, then let's join it. That's the best start of your career.
I feel like this is not only for development, it's for investment too, because a lot of people like management, it's a pretty big whole sector that the more you in, you just do know more and more. Because I know a lot of people too, they'll tell me that my first real estate investment wasn't great at all. But the more I do it, I know what I want, what I know to do. So it's something that I think this industry is so unique, is because the more you know that there's so much more out there, and you want to just be a sponge and learn more and more. So it's something that I think the audience will appreciate that. And if people want to reach out to you to learn more about your work, how would you suggest them to find you?
Well, they can find me through Denzity. or they can email me or WhatsApp me. I welcome all kinds of contact or connections, and especially if you are interested in the real estate industry or real estate development, real estate fund management, I can offer some advice or help or whatever. Because I think this industry needs a lot of good people, talent people, and people who are keen to make a successful career.
I see. That's good. I'll obviously, after this call, I'll ask you some kind of links and stuff like that, how people reach out to you, and I'll put everything in the show notes. And then, so I want to say, Ivan, I think that I want to do a long form in the future to dive into your journey, because I'm sure there's a lot of stories that you haven't told me yet, and the audience too. So something that I really want to know personally as well. And thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And then I hope that you come on board next time again for our interview.
Yeah, my pleasure. And my pleasure. And also, thanks, Darren. And I think you have a good start.
Thank you.
Let's roll it out and then make it successful.
I hope so too. Like it's been a while. It's been a while. So thanks a lot, and talk to you next time then. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching. What do you think of this episode? Please let us know in the comment below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button to keep in touch with us for upcoming videos. But before we go, I want to give a big shout out to Patina Design Lab. They're the one who help us in making our brand, our direction, as well as these videos. They are a strategic design consultancy firm that help businesses with a wide range of design services, from industrial design, branding, graphic design, art direction, content creation, and many more. They are a very talented bunch, and I urge you to check out their website for their work. That's all for today, and see you next time. Cheers.